her name, goes to Minnesota. Someone from France, Lars Lacon from France goes to the Connecticut Sky. So that's your 9 anyway. So, I mean, big views again for the NBA. And I don't know, James. I don't know, and maybe CJ has a opinion on this, right? So Caitlin Clark goes to the pros. She's making $338,000 a year, which is not chump change. And now they start comparing it to the men's. Well, Wembanyama makes $55 million. This one, yeah, of course they do. People watch this. People go out and turn out the games. People watch it on TV. They aren't watching WNBA on TV. Nobody has been going to the games. So that only makes sense. So first, CJ, let me ask you this question. Does Caitlin Clark make a mistake going to WNBA only making $338,000 when she could have stayed in Indiana, made at least $3 million plus more? There would have been more. Maybe gets a championship, sets a record for all-time scorer that never could be touched again. So does she make a mistake going to WNBA, or should she have stayed in Indiana?
I think she should have stayed in Indiana, to be honest with you. And personally, one of the things that really annoys me is when we try to compare men's sports to women's sports. We really need to stop. I mean, I am so happy that women have professional sports that they can now be a part of. I am very happy that there is a women's professional hockey league, that there is a women's national basketball league, okay, or National Basketball Association. I am very happy for the fact that ladies who are that talented now have a pro league where they can go and they can put their talents on display.
Agree.
So what I feel like is, instead of comparing the women to the men and, Caitlin Clark is going to be as good as Giannis, or she's going to be as good as Steph Curry, or insert whatever pro athlete. How about, instead of making ridiculous comparisons that we just waste our time talking about, how about just celebrating them? How about just being happy and just saying, you know what? Good for her. She made a choice to go to the pros. She made it to the pros. Good for her. Because someday when she has kids and she has grandkids, she's going to be able to look back upon that time, and she's going to be able to tell her children and her grandchildren about how she played women's professional basketball.
I agree with that, CJ. I agree with that 100%. But you're gonna have this is what we meant. That's what everybody wants to talk about. They want to make a comparison to make you feel bad or feel guilty for some reason that the women aren't making as much as the men. That's the way it is right now. Do something about it, as James said before the game. Watch the games.
Right.
Go to the arenas. Watch them. Women, do this. Don't depend on the men to do. You do it. I mean, if you're that upset about it, I still don't think it will ever be the same. And we talked about this too, James, before the show. All right. Now, with Caitlin Clark going to the pros, say she's a good player for the first 3 years. She's not great. She's not doing what she did in college, which she's not gonna. I mean, that's just a matter of fact. She's not gonna right away. And Indiana has a lot of games, televised games this year. So Indiana fans will be watching, but it's not a good team. Indiana is not a good team right now, or she would be going there. Match that up with her not having a good year, them not having a good team. Does the views fall, and they're back right where they started where they started from? What do you think?
Well, I think that viewership will go down to some degree, but I just don't think that she's not going to be good. I really think that she's going to set up. She's just going to bring more attention. It's not just that. They're going to watch more teams. They're going to watch more players. A lot of these girls that got drafted, Camilla, we're talking Angel Reese, they're on the same team. So they're going to be dominant defensively. on that team, specifically Chicago Sky. But back to Caitlin Clark. To me, when I watched her, she reminded me of. I hate to do the comparison. I wanted to push back a little bit on CJ of Steph Curry. She plays a very similar game to that guy. I'm not saying that she's Steph Curry, but she can do step back threes. She can run around and make you chase her. That's Steph Curry. That's his game. And that's going to bring more attention to see somebody like that play. I'm not saying that she can't be stopped. Teams are going to figure who she is and play her, but she's not going to be. You might slow her down, but she's not going to get stopped. I can tell the real deal when I watch it, and I think she is the real deal. But that should bring more attention. But again, going back to what we talked about earlier, if people think that they're not making enough money, people out that are watching, supporting, should support more, should watch more. But I think the way marketing has been done with her, the way marketing has been done with NCAA basketball, women's basketball, it's going to bring a lot more attention to them, and they're going to get more. They're not going to get the NBA attention, but they're going to get more than attention than they have been in the past.
You know, I think, and let's get Robert's comment up here real quick. Comparison should be accepted. So start shows like this year will open the door and stuff. Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. I take that as a compliment. We got Keith Anglin. Now, who knows more about college sports than Keith Anglin? And let's see if he agrees with me, which I know he will. He always does. Or he agrees with you guys. Because Keith, you know, we're talking about Caitlin Clark in the draft being big news, which is the first time I've ever heard of that. I didn't even know they had a WNBA draft in the balls like the NBA. I had no clue. The first time I found out about this. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Caitlin Clark gets taken first. I'm telling James, and I think CJ agrees with me to a point, is that Caitlin Clark is not going to be the Caitlin Clark of college in the pros. It's not going to happen. She's going up against women now. She's going up against, UConn made her only score 20 points. Can you imagine what a professional team's going to do against her? They're going to pressure her constantly. They're going to knock her around a little bit. So if she's not the same Caitlin Clark, and Indiana has a lot of games scheduled, and Indiana is not a good team right now, do the views go down in the WNBA?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm not sure how the views can go down in the WNBA. They're already pretty low. So I don't think she's going to cost viewers. Are they going to jump the way I think a lot of people hope they do, obviously. They will in the beginning, but like anybody, whether it's in the NBA or the NFL or MLB, you got to continue to play well to keep those viewers there. And I do think that she will have a tougher time. What she'll do, I'm not so sure. I don't think she's going to be the over-the-top superstar maybe that people think she'll be, because you're right. You know, you're not going against one or two really good players on a team. You're going up against five for the most part. So I think, you know, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that she's going to be the best thing that ever hit the WNBA. There's been a lot of really good players in the WNBA. Cheryl Swoops and Sue Bird and Rebecca Lobo, lots of really great players. And you got a ways to go before you can really surpass them. She was a great college player. Been a lot of great male college players that were not great professional players as well. So yeah. I think it's, again, not a foregone conclusion that she'll just take the league by storm.
I agree with that, and that's what I've been telling James. But you know how hard-headed James is.
What was that last comment I just saw there? I must have misread.
You know, here goes Robert Wardell.
Come on, that's not even. That's
not even.
Well, Keith. Hey, first of all, Keith, how you doing, man? It's always a pleasure.
You too, James. Good to see you. You too, CJ. By the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me say this, Mac. She's beat now. When Steph Curry, I hate to keep bringing Steph Curry up. When he first came in the league, he and I'm not using him as a comparison, but I'm just saying Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, their first early go at it with the Warriors, man. Warriors wasn't the team that they were. They weren't the team that they were I'm in the dark now.
Literally,
Team
you're in the
that,
dark.
that the championship years. So, and she's being teamed up with Aaliyah Boston that came out of South Carolina. So I think they're starting. They're building up. It starts right there by building a team. And so you got two pillars to build on. You can add the rest and go from there. So I'm not saying that she's going to be like great initially, but man, come on. You can tell the real deal when you see it. Let me cut it back on. Excuse me.
Okay, well, they turned the lights on. They didn't believe what he was saying over there is what it was. But anyway, yes. Tarazi, of course, has a lot to live up to. So, Keith, let's get off. We've been talking about this for 20 minutes. I'm getting tired of it. So let's push on to one of your favorite subject, the NCAA, and doesn't normally have teeth unless they want to find somebody. And, of course, when they want money, their teeth is mighty big. So Jim Harbaugh, of course, saw the writing on the wall. He gets out, goes to San Diego, and the NCAA, in their wisdom, right away punishes Michigan for what Jim Harbaugh was in charge of, right? I mean, there's no fine for him. They're going to fine Michigan. They're going to mess with their recruiting. They're going to ban them for 3 years for, I guess, competing for a national championship, if I'm reading it right. So, I mean, here it goes again, Keith. Fining, punishing players, punishing coaches, punishing universities for something that somebody else was in charge of.
This is, often in these cases, the coach is out in front of the posse. It's not just Jim Harbaugh, right? This isn't unusual. It's happened for decades. And again, whether these penalties warrant this type of penalties, I still have my doubts about. Again, the NCAA finds just the infractions. They go and find only when they want to find something on somebody or a program, because you could go find these penalties for any program out there, pretty much. I shouldn't say every, because I get in trouble when I say every program. Most of the programs out there, including in the Big Ten, have done the same things at Michigan. And Jim Harbaugh, by the way, has never been proven to have started this whole sign stealing program. This was a rogue assistant. I didn't say he didn't take advantage of it, by the way. But again, the NCAA, as you said, to me, they're useless, because you could go find these penalties on anybody. If they really wanted to enforce them, you'd enforce them against everybody uniformly. But they're not that important in my mind. And so they find a way to get Jim Harbaugh after the fact. He's laughing all the way to the bank. What does he care? I didn't see that they were banned from competing for a championship for 3 years. You could be right there. I'm not positive about that. I know that there's definitely scholarship issues here and whatnot, but I've kind of got to dive into it deeper to see if it was any penalties for competing for championships. I don't know that there was, but I'm not a big fan of the NCAA anyway. They just, again, it's a
before we continue talking about it, and I agree with you to a point, Keith. The problem with Michigan is they put it in their face, right? We know all the teams are cheating. If they did it at practice, if the guy was in the stands, I mean, he's right there on the sideline in a fake mustache, and and he's taught. I mean, you're telling the NCAA or the people in charge of rules, we don't really give a damn what you say. That was kind of dumb. If he's sitting in the stands, there's nothing happening here. They won't see anything, or doing it at practice. Or maybe they do, but they're not going to make a big deal out of it like they did.
Keep their head turned. That's why they don't see anything. They have to keep their head turned until somebody wants something on somebody, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I just think it was
Michigan, Ohio State and Rutgers both provided film to Purdue 2 years ago in the Big Ten championship game, but that's swept under the rug, and we don't talk about it because it doesn't make good press, apparently. So Jim Harbaugh's a polarized here. Somebody had it in for Jim Harbaugh, and
he can rub people the wrong way.
Yeah. I did read something too where the NCAA and people have to understand a couple of things. First of all, they said they should be stripped of their title because of the being found guilty of these violations. The NCAA has nothing to do with the college football playoff championship. It's a totally different situation. They can't take it away from them. Now, the College Football Playoff Committee could, but I don't see them doing that at all.
Right.
Mac, this is what it says. It says Michigan will serve 3 years of NCAA probation.
There you
Right.
go.
That's it.
Just
So, I mean,
slap on, basically.
But what does that
So-
mean? What does that mean? I mean, can they stop them from going to the playoffs?
I don't believe that they can.
No.
I'm looking at a quick article right now. I don't see anything that really says anything would. It doesn't even say anything what the violations would actually mean as far as penalties for the to the school. So maybe there's more to come from this. Again, they already see he suspensions last year for two different sets of violations. I mean, what other penalty do they need? Why did kids left behind? And I think you alluded to this in the beginning, Mac. Why did the NCAA, and they've done this for decades, you punish the kids and the coaches that are left behind who may or may not have had anything to do with any of this?
So, Keith, does the portal get busy in Michigan now because it's up in the air? I mean, they don't know what's going on. Do they say, I don't even want to bother with this. I'm out of here. I'm going to another school?
It's possible. I mean, even though the wide transfer as much as you want, they still do have time frames. The spring portal just opened here the last couple of days, so kids could jump in there. I personally don't think that's going to happen again, given that there's really no. It doesn't seem like there's any teeth to these this probation. I mean, what are they going to do if they're going to take a home game away from them, or they're going to take one TV game away from them? That's not going to affect the kids. As long as the kids can go there and play for a championship and get their NIL money, by the way, they'll stick around.
Good. All right. So Keith brought me back down the ground a little bit here because I was ready to go crazy on this.
Well, I don't want to back up the NCAA in any way because this is one of the worst run organizations ever put together.
I agree with that. So let's get to the NBA. Last night we talked about this a little bit. Lakers beat the Pelicans 110-106. New Orleans they're not out of it. They go down to the 7th seed. The Warriors are totally out of it. The Kings have a good game. Me and James talked about it. Keith, any thoughts about the Warriors right now, where they go from here?
It's time to reload. I mean, they've tried to run this back basically now, and they did get. It looked like this dynasty was over once, and they did kind of run it back when they brought Durant in and fortified what they had with Curry and Thompson and Green. But as being the main guys, it's time to bust this up. And I don't know that Steph Curry's got to go, but he may want to go because I think they got to tear this down and start over. Thompson's not the player that he was. It's a shame because of the injury that he had in the finals a few years ago has really hurt his game. Draymond Green, it's obviously his best days are behind him. And as far as being an effective player, other than, starting a fight and get suspended a couple times a year. I think it's time to start over probably from the bottom up, like they did the last time when they brought in Steph Curry and then Thompson and the like. So
I would agree with that. I would say that I think they keep them for another year. Maybe they go out, get some bigs, reboot it, see what happens. They'll be a playoff team still. They're not going to championship. You know what I mean?
Do they want to continue to get into the play-in rounds tournament? And I don't think that's really what this. You've gone out there and won multiple championships. After that, I think this is a bit of a letdown playing just to get in to the regular playoff round every year.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I'm just telling you what I read that they may do this.
They might.
CJ, the Nets. Let's talk about them. The Jets replace coaches a lot. The Nets have been replacing coaches every year. They hired Jordy Hernandez as their next coach. They've gone through, Kenny Atkinson, Sean Marks, Steve Nash, Jackie Vaughn. And if you keep changing head coaches, you're not going to win. It's simple. So do the Nets finally take a breath, see what this guy can do, at least give him a few years, or if he's not good this year, do they get rid of him again?
Well, this is the story in any franchise, and just you pretty much hit the nail on the head for me that I really don't need to say anything more. It's just losing franchises will constantly smash on the reset button. This is not, restricted and isolated to just the New York Football Jets. This is, for any team that is underperforming, the fan base is disappointed or up in arms, and they're screaming and yelling that they want to get rid of this person, this guy got to go, that guy got to go. What everybody needs to do is understand that if you are going to have a culture of even competitive sustainability, you need to be able to keep a coaching staff in place, bumps and all, warts and all, for anywhere between 3 to 5 years. And I just think that we live in this microwavable society that everybody wants that quick turnaround because they watch everybody else do it. But the problem is that those other teams that may be the beneficiaries of the quick turnaround, you don't know what they've done in years past or what type of foundation that they've already laid. All right. The best example that I could come up with is when the New York Jets fired Eric Mangini and they hired Rex Ryan. Okay. Rex Ryan walked into a ready-made team that was ready to win a championship, and he took them to an AFC championship game. There are some that argue that Eric Mangini might have been able to accomplish the same thing had he been given one more kick at the can. But the problem was that the year before, their collapse was so egregious that a pound of flesh had to be paid to the public. So that's why Eric Mangini ended up getting the axe. Okay, but Rex Ryan benefited from all of the work that Eric Mangini and his coaching staff had done in the short amount of time that he was there.
Yeah,
this is the same thing. It's not just isolated to football, Mac. This is in every major sport. Okay, another example that I could bring up is my beloved New York Rangers. Okay, just go back 92, 93. Okay, Rangers, top seed in the Eastern Conference, win the President's Trophy, get bounced in the first round. Roger Nielsen gets fired. What do? They hire Mike Keenan. What does Mike Keenan do in his first year as New York Rangers head coach? They win a Stanley Cup. He stepped into a ready-made situation in which this team was ready to win a championship. Okay?
Yeah. Oh,
so
you're right.
For the Nets, if they really want to make up for the mistakes of the past, what they need to do is they need to stay the course. I hate to say this. You need to trust the process. And fans, unfortunately, they're going to have to be a little bit patient. They really are. Well, if you're a true fan, you're going to suffer through all the bumps and bruises.
Well, see, Brooklyn made the mistake of getting the big three to sell out the crowds and go crazy. And then now, you see what happens when they're gone. Now there's nobody going to Brooklyn Nets games anymore. Keith, let's talk a little bit about Team USA. Surprised me to a point. I mean, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Embiid's on it. There's really nobody new. I mean, I'm surprised Wembanyama didn't get a spot on the team. I'm surprised that the Clippers didn't have anybody from their team. I think they're third seed on there. Of course, Brunson doesn't get in. I mean, I could build a whole team with players that didn't make the team, and I'd compete with these guys. So, and also, don't they normally take a college player, like the best college player every year? I think Zach Edey would have been a perfect choice to go and play with this team. This year, they don't do that. I don't get it.
Well, there is one spot left open. Sorry. Go ahead, Keith.
That's okay. No, there is a spot left open, as James said, and they do normally take a kid from college. I remember even on the Dream Team, they had Christian Laettner.
Right.
But, I'm not surprised. I mean, again, they're out here trying to promote, American basketball, and they're going to take the names that people recognize, and whether they're the best players anymore or not is probably irrelevant. It's not like LeBron's and, the like are not certainly among the top players. I do think if you want the game to continue, well, actually, has waned a little in viewership and attendance, I think, in recent years. And part of it is because, and you go through this periodically, where the old guard is getting old and they're going to start moving on. And if you don't promote the younger guys, then you're going to hurt the brand. And I think they would have probably benefited from putting some of these younger guys on this team. They're going to, well, I shouldn't say that. Used to be able to say they're going to win just throwing the ball out on the floor, but that's not the case anymore. Obviously, the last couple of decades, even. But they put out there the people they think they want to see, and I doubt. I believe they're still telecast on NBC. I'm not positive the Olympics, but I think NBC probably has a little bit of at least put a little whisper in the ear saying we want certain people there because of viewership for themselves. So
Sure.
again, I think there's a double-edged sword here, right? You want the viewership now, but you got to promote the game and keep it in at top of mind going forward, and promoting the young kids is the way to do that.
I would agree with that. Now, there's some MLB I want to get to, and I'll save it for the end of the show because I want to talk a little bit about the NFL. I love talking about the NFL. I want to take a different view. Now, there's, I think, 8 new coaches in the NFL this year. I'm going to take probably the top 5 coaches that have the hardest or the easiest time putting together a team. And I think I'm going to surprise a couple of you with one of my picks. But I'm going to start off, of course, with Jim Harbaugh, San Diego Chargers. Was already successful in NFL, successfully took a team in the Super Bowl, and had a legitimate team, I think, until he left there. They were a contender. He's coming back into a team that has a few nice spots there. Him on the outside. He's got a good defense. Got pieces to make a quick transfer here. Picks up some guys from the draft, puts together the big offensive line, the big running game. They're not depending just on Justin Herbert anymore. They want to run the ball. Game manager Justin Herbert, have aggressive defense. All sounds great, but I think maybe you'd agree with it. He probably has the easiest job walking into a team that has pieces that can get up and go right away. What do you think, Keith?
I wouldn't necessarily disagree. I mean, he's got the quarterback, which is the most important piece. He's still got some talent on defense. But that offense, their wide receiver core is basically gone. They've got to be replaced. And Eckler is, I think Eckler's still there, right? I mean, he's starting to get along. Did he move on? Yeah,
Washington.
Oh, that's right. He did move on, right? Again, I don't know I'm not sure who they brought in there without taking a look at that. But all in all, I mean, and don't discount the fact that Jim Harbaugh's done this before. He stepped into a worse situation in my mind, probably in San Francisco, his first time around the NFL, and he had them pretty quickly in 2 consecutive NFC Championship games and almost won a Super Bowl with a tricked up offense a little bit, if you remember. So we won't get into the quarterback too much there, but he's done this before. So yes, I would think that's a good situation, and maybe one of the few that Harbaugh would have wanted to jump into in the NFL. Would
you, CJ, James, would you agree with that? That this is probably the easiest, put together a team, guy knows what he's doing, has some talent. You think that might be the easiest job out there?
James, I'll let you go first.
Okay. So having Justin Herbert, it's not a bad place to start. Having him, I mean, he's a world talent. I put him in the top tier quarterbacks. I mean, any name outside of Patrick Mahomes or Josh, what's the guy in Buffalo?
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, yeah. I would put him right underneath those guys because ultimately it's about talent and having an offensive line. So they need help on offensive line. So that's going to be tough for them. But good news is that they got a plethora of extreme talent in the first round. So I mean, they're picking number 5 overall. So if I were them, I'd either go Joe Alt or J.C. Latham. Because he's a guy, a coach that likes to run the ball. So you want a mauler. So J.C. Latham to me is a guy that seems to be like that. But they need help. They need wide receivers as well. So it's going to be a little tough. I got another coach in mind. I'm wondering if you're going to – I'm not going to say the name yet because I know you want to call out the names. But I got another name I think will have a lot of easier situation than him. So I think they're going to be a little tough. It's going to be tough for Los Angeles.
C.J. Roberts says, does he, though? I mean, has Reed, Peyton Cullen, this division. I'm a Harbaugh hater, though. We're not talking about whether he's going to be competing against the Kansas City Chiefs. What we're talking about is, can he get a competitive team in place to maybe make a wild card run? What do you think, CJ?
Yeah, I think he does. I think he has the potential to. And I mean, Harbaugh, he has a way of getting players to play. And, just like James said, you got Justin Herbert. So your main position right now is already sewn up. And you already know in the draft and in other outlets, you have unsigned free agents that are out there. You're going to have guys once training camp opens up, who gets cut from whose squad and whatever, once cuts starting. There's going to be plenty of opportunity for Harbaugh to be able to get some talent on his staff. And I think that with some solid direction, which I think that he'll be able to provide, I think that the Chargers are going to they're going to be a problem for people in the AFC next year.
All right, so let me go to one that might shock you guys. Believe it or not, I think Jared Mayo has one of the easier jobs, and this is why. First of all, he's a former player on the team. He knows the team players there. He knows the defense. He knows the organization. He knows how to maybe push some of their buttons. I mean, he's been with the Patriots a long time. He's been with Bill Belichick as a player and a coach. He's seen what Bill Belichick has done, not lately, but prior, to build a winning team. They've been really busy in the free agency. They got the 3rd overall pick. Great position to be in. Whether they want a quarterback, whether they want to trade down, it's going to be up to them. But they are in a great position right now. I think that they're going to be a little bit better this year. I don't think the Patriot fans are expecting them to compete for the AFC East title this year. They just want to see them improve. And I think that they will improve this year. Even if they win 5 games this year, it's better than 3. And he's filling some big shoes. I don't think the Patriot fans expect this team to jump out and start, hitting the ground running and winning, the first 8 games. I don't think they even think that's possible. So I think expectations, knows the team, knows the players, knows the organization, has seen what it takes to build a winning team. I think he's got the second easiest job in the NFL as a head coach. What do you think, Keith? Talk about your team.
Well, I like Gerard Mayo a lot. I like the hire a lot. I said that at the time. Whether it's it's not easy to replace arguably the greatest head coach in the history of the NFL. So that is not as easy as you probably think. You say the fans won't expect as much, but these fan bases, we've become spoiled. We've had 4 years now. We're just making the playoffs once after making it like 19 out of 20 years and winning all those Super Bowls. So I don't know that it's going to be easy. And one of the reasons it's not going to be easy, besides that, is they don't have a quarterback. And until you fix that quarterback situation, and I'm on record saying I don't want them to take a quarterback at 3, because that's no guarantee that that's going to fix the situation. So this, I would not say this is the easiest job in the world. I won't say it's the hardest either, though, Mac, because he's working for a great organization. He's working for great ownership. They'll have some patience with him, I'm pretty sure. And as you said, nobody's expecting them to go out and compete for a Super Bowl this year. So I won't call it the second easiest, but I won't call it the hardest either. Because there's a guy I think is going to have pressure on him on my list, and maybe it'll come up in this conversation, that may have more as much pressure on him as any coach in the NFL. And I don't know why, but I think he will. So
Okay.
for George, I think it's middle of the road.
We'll get to that. Now, first, to be clear, I didn't say he's going to have an easy job replacing Bill Belichick. That's not what I said. I said it's going to be easier for him to fit in because he knows the players and stuff like that. That's what I'm saying. CJ, let's take a look at Mike Macdonald. He's right now he's going to be coaching. He's coaching Seattle. He was a defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens the last 2 years. Seattle has Geno Smith. He's a good game manager. He's competitive. They've got a very good backup right now. Sam Howell, despite being on a bad team, being sacked so much, he was one of the leading passers as far as yardage went. Problem with Seattle, of course, is their defense. They're known as the Legion of Boom when they were Super Bowl running. They had a great runner, the beast mode. They came away from that. Pete Carroll came away from that. I don't know why, but he did. So Macdonald goes in, defensive coordinator, knows defense, puts a good defense in there. Offense, he needs a little help with maybe. They still got to get a running game. Great wide receiving crew. I think that's one of the easier jobs for a head coach to get in. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Because, if you have a team that's offensively capable of scoring points, so you're already ahead of the game. If you get an offensive coordinator in there that has a similar system to what they're running and what the players are used to, you go and you get yourself a couple of running backs, you can establish a running game and be able to set up your pass, then his fingerprints are going to be all over the defense. Once his fingerprints are all over the defense, you definitely can expect them to take a step forward. Whether or not they will join the NFL's elite, right now, I think he's pretty much hoping for middle of the road right now, and I think that's the best that they could hope for, considering that they're starting from the ground up. But, I think that Mike Macdonald he has one of the easier jobs, but I really don't think that there is a per se easy job. Like,
No.
Harbaugh is going to be challenging. Gerard Mayo, 100% agree with yours and Keith's comments that I feel like that it's going to be middle of the road. I feel like all of them they're almost on the same footing, where you have bits and pieces of a good football team, but it's not a great football team.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I also would add that quarterback position is overrated. As far as wins and losses and that, you got to have a complete team. Yeah, the greatest quarterback in the world, but that don't mean that you're going to win games. He's important. I get it. I'm not totally ignorant to that. But if you don't have a good team, I don't care how good your quarterback is. James, we take you to Carolina and the Panthers. Now, you might think I'm crazy, right? This is going to be a very hard coaching job. They're decimated. They got so many holes they got to fill. The quarterback is getting creamed every year. They got no running game. Their defenses fall apart. What a perfect position to come into. There's nowhere to go but up, right? So if Canales can get them competitive, not this year, but next year, the year after, they may give him a statue in front of the stadium. This guy might be, this is the Lambeau of Green Bay second coming Lambeau. Seriously, a lot of tough things to do, but they're what they think will happen. The estimation is 0. So makes it a little workable for him, don't it?
I disagree with that. And the only reason why I disagree with that is because of the owner. The owner, man. Look what he did to Frank Reich. Man, he had his foot. He's going to have his foot on his throat as well. You got to come. The pressure is on, so you got to come in and win. And you have to come in and win. You have very little draft capital, and you have very little. As far as assets. And you don't have such a great team yet. So you're coming in. I think the pressure is on. But like you said, you're starting from ground up. So you have nowhere to go but up. But you may not go get up with an owner like the guy that you have. I mean, he said he believes that they're going to win. The owner says that. So the pressure is definitely on the coach. So I guess the guy wanted a job, so he took that job. And I just don't think that they're in a good position to succeed in 2024, just from the ownership alone, the standpoint of ownership.
I agree with you. The only thing I'm saying that may be different than you, forget about the owner for a second, right? The owner supposedly hired a GM that knows football, blah, 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 blah. And I know he's a very hot-tempered guy that's very impatient. But if he keeps getting rid of coaches, they're going to have to do something with this guy. So, maybe he's got to learn to chill out a little bit. Maybe he should, head down to Hawaii while the seasons go. Something. Just get out of the way. Let them do their job. And, that's all I got to say about that. So let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. To me, very interesting team, a team that's been competitive almost every year. They were in the championship not too long ago. They're always playing to get in the playoffs. They get them against the Colts. It's the last game of the year, and guess what? Derrick Henry just said, I'm not staying here anymore. He's tired of it. So they don't have a running back anymore. They got Pollard. Pollard, what is that? Our guy that's hurt that gets injured often. He's nowhere close to Derrick Henry. They got Will Levis, Keith's favorite quarterback, who likes to throw interceptions as much as he likes to throw completions. So the guy here who is taking over the Titans, Brian Callahan. He was the offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow. But guess what? Revis is not Joe Burrows. Levis isn't. What's their new receiver? Ridley is no Jamar Chase. He's not even he's not even their second wide receiver, Higgins, if he's healthy. I think the Titans have a problem this year. I think their defense might be good. Their offense is going to be trash. I think he's got the hardest job. I think he's got nowhere to go but down.
Down. They didn't have that good a year last year. Levis, by the way, Will Levis last year threw 4 interceptions in 255 attempts. That's not a lot of interceptions. Will Levis had several really good games last year. And I will continue to tell you, 2 years, 3 years from now, that draft, Will Levis will have been the best quarterback from there. Their wide receiver core this year, their running game is a little iffy. We'll give you that. But the wide receiver core, with Calvin Ridley coming in, or maybe the hottest sought-after wide receiver available this year. A lot of teams after him. Hopkins showed last year he still had something left with 75 catches. I like Treylon Burks' potential. He's only a rookie last year, and it sometimes takes those guys a year to get their feet under him. I think this is a team that, with enough talent, that they could turn it around faster maybe than somebody else. I'm not saying they're going to compete for a Super Bowl here, but this, I think, might be one of the easier jobs coming in, to be honest with you. There may be a quarterback in place and some other pieces.
Ripley's believe it or not. That's all I got to say, Keith. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I listen. I mean, their expectations are high, and that's all I'm going off of, expectations. That's what I'm basing my whole thing off of. Their expectations are still going to be high. Robert Butler thinks they're going to the championship game. It's not happening this year.
Well, he's a fan. He's a fan, so he's going to say he's a fan.
I'm surprised you didn't name Raheem Morris.
With
Atlanta.
Raheem Morris has got the most pressure on him of any new head coach because there are very high expectations there that are probably unrealistic. You're going to win some games because you're in a bad division, but you got a quarterback who's never shown he can win a big game. So,
but at least I and look, trust me, I'm very objective here, and I'm a Saints fan. But I'm picking Atlanta to win that division.
Yeah,
I'll give you that, and lose in the first round of playoffs. So
listen, I only have an hour. I don't have 2 hours to talk about every coach. You know what I mean? If I had 2 hours, we talk about every coach in depth. Yesterday, of course, was a big day in baseball, right? Jack, you have, of course, one of the, I don't know if he was one of the greatest baseball players of all time. He broke the color barrier, right? had a lot of achievements on the field that a lot of people really don't talk about enough. In fact, he has 2 plaques now in the Hall of Fame, one for breaking the color barrier, one for being, for the achievements on field. I think it was Rookie of the Year, multiple All-Star games, and all in part, not totally, because of Branch Rickey, who brought him in to play for the Dodgers. The owner, Pee Wee Reese, would kind of smooth things over because they didn't want him in the clubhouse, to be honest with you. They didn't want Jackie Robinson there. But Pee Wee Reese, publicly went on, took pictures with him. I think he invited him over the house, whatever. He tried to make his transition a lot smoother than what it was. So big day yesterday. We wore number 42, and it should be worn. It's a great thing. Also in baseball, there were a couple other stories that I wanted to talk about. I'm kind of running out of time right now. Let's see. Orioles on fire, as we thought they would be. Pop up in the outfield. Hey guys, outfielders got the ball. Stop trying to catch the ball when you're an infielder. You end up smashing heads with your teammate. Then we find out that Nevers' head is a lot harder than O'Neill's head, right? So I mean, that's just crazy. That's little league stuff. The outfielder should take charge in that case. Stop trying to show off. I mean, I know you want to get in the top 10 plays, but let the other guy catch the ball. In the Orioles, Keith, the Yankees had the number 7 ranked minor league farm system. Baltimore had number 2. They already got these guys playing up there right now. They had the player of the week was an outfielder, Colton Cowser, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs for 1 week. His teammate Cedric Wilman is diving all over the place like Superman, making catches on line drives. I mean, these guys come the ball, and I appreciate seeing them back in the race again with the Yankees and the Red Sox.
Yeah, this organization has not just helped replenish the major league roster, but it also helped them finally get a number 1 starter in Corbin Burns, who I think is still one of the best pitchers in baseball, and will show it here before the season is out with Baltimore. They brought Holiday up probably sooner than they're planning to, which is a good sign because they aren't just looking to save a year on arbitration for him. They said we got to get him up here and this team needs to get kick started, and they did that early, even though he's off to a bit of a slow start. And Gunnar Henderson, some of these guys that they brought up the last few years have been really good. Not to mention the bullpen is even with their closer on the DL, maybe for the entire year. This is the way you build a Major League Baseball contender, the way the Orioles have done it. They didn't go out and use all their minor league capital to get better players until now, when they get a guy who think that might put them over the top in Corbin Burns. And I think that was a really, really good move. And real quick on the Jackie Robinson thing, people who are baseball fans, if you don't know why guys are wearing number 42 all over the league yesterday, you got to learn your history, because I saw it in baseball groups everywhere. What's going on with all these players? No names on the backs, number 42. One of the 2 most important people ever to play baseball, Babe Ruth and Jackie Robinson, are the 2 most important people ever to play this game.
Agree. We got to get going. CJ, the Mets are above 500. So, at least they're doing something. James, with picking the Falcons, went out on a ledge there a little bit, taking the Falcons. But, it's a safe bet. If you're betting, please don't bet, okay? Because you'll get banned if you're playing basketball.
You can't ban me.
Yes, right. So anyway, and stay off Facebook. Do not go long on your songs because they'll ban you also. I got banned for a while. My page is down. We are changing the name of the network here soon as I'm back up to the national Streaming Sports Productions, because we have outgrown Northeast Streaming Sports. We have shows from all over the country now. I think it's only fitting that we give, that we do this. So I'll be getting out everybody videos and intros and all that good stuff as we get going. Folks, thanks for tuning in. I don't know if CJ or James is up on Sonia's show next. I'm not sure. But Sonia will be on. So will J&B Talking Shop. So will Sportscope. Stay with Roku all night. You got sports all day, every day, into the early morning. Thank you, folks. Have a great hump day. We'll see you soon.